How's it going, everyone? Mike the Warhost here to give you a review of the first full-length dystopian age novel, Lazarus, written by Sarah Cockwell. I ordered mine from my Kindle app on my tablet and was thus able to start reading it the day it came out rather than having to wait for delivery of a physical copy. I'll be splitting this up into two sections, putting all spoiler content in the second half of the video for anyone who wants to enjoy the story at their own pace. The story follows Union Major Willa Shaw and beloved lawman deputy Doc Holliday as they begin investigating what appears to be a run-of-the-mill accident that led to a fire destroying the small boomtown of Provenance, Arizona. While picking through the wreckage of the town and dancing around the complicated history the two characters have, the investigators soon realize that this was no ordinary fire and something much more sinister was happening in the small town. Our intrepid duo eventually learned that enlightened scientist and Confederate sympathizer Annabelle Hamilton using the town as cover and a source of fodder for her more gruesome experiments in the name of Southern liberation. The story does an excellent job of fleshing out the world of the dystopian age, specifically the Union, the frontier, and a small peek into the South both before and after the Boer War. Snippets of antebellum life come from Annabelle Hamilton and Doc Holliday, as well as a look into Confederate military life from Annabelle's bodyguard, Ross Mackay. More on him later. My personal favorite bit of world building comes in the methods used by Union and lawmen to gather their forces. While the Union relies on the discipline and ardor of its professional soldiers to rally and inspire, the lawmen rely on the promise of a free round of drinks to whip up a posse when needed to deal with a problem. It really helps differentiate the two forces in the reader's mind and shows off the ways the different factions fighting for survival in the western frontier actually function. That being said, there are some weaker points to the story overall and a few areas that could have been done better. In order to talk about these, however, I'll end up spoiling some content. I'll keep this spoiler marker up during this section of the video to easily let you know what to avoid when watching. Now for the parts I wasn't a big fan of. The book contains several excerpts containing in-universe newspaper articles and small vignettes featuring other big hitters and factions in the setting. And to be honest, almost all of these can be removed without losing anything. There are two excerpts featuring voodoo priestess Marie Laveau that only have the most tenuous connection to the main plot. Another excerpt at the very end of the book focused on the discussion between two Sircans of the Order of the All-Shard discussing the events that just took place. While I can appreciate the vignette at the end of the novel, when combined with Marie Laveau's appearance, it felt too much like Sarah was trying to cram in as many references to other factions in Wild West Exodus as possible. And while you can easily make the claim that this was done to function as a jumping off point for future novels,
there better be future novels, Sarah.
They felt like just that, extraneous bits that were tacked on to lead to future stories that either could have been integrated into the plot overall, or simply removed to make more space for banter between Willa and Doc, or the chance to flesh out a rift in the Confederate rebellion between the methods and goals used by Stonewall Jackson and Annabelle Hamilton. It reminded me a great deal of the Justice League movie trying to cram in as many superheroes as it could to start off DC's version of their Marvel Cinematic Universe, but obviously to a much lesser degree. Another weak point to the novel overall was the wasted potential in Ross Mackay. In his first appearance, we learned that he got his first lieutenant rank the old-fashioned way, by earning it. He comes from a more humble background than Annabelle does, and thus wasn't able to use any sort of family connections or aristocratic soft power to get his commission. This set Ross up to be not only a viable commander, but a solid combatant as well, which unfortunately we don't really see at all. What we do see, however, is a battle-hardened ex-Confederate soldier as the star of an unrequited love story that makes Ross come across like a bumbling idiot stuck in the friend zone more than anything else. Badass fighting men don't get stuck in the friend zone, Sarah. Come on. I can see what Sarah was going for, but the lack of any direct fighting on Ross's part, aside from a half-hearted last stand attempt at the end of the book, left me really disappointed. Here's hoping that Ross's next appearance in a dystopian age novel gives him more of a chance to shine. And topping off the negatives portion of the video, I want to talk a bit about the quality of the provided map in the book. The copy provided by my digital version of the book was of incredibly low quality. Only the largest text was readable. The symbols on the map denoting known warrior nation settlements and enlightened facilities throughout the Southwest weren't very clear. Trying to read town names was an exercise in futility, and zooming in on the map image quickly resulted in a pixelated mess reminiscent of image quality memes more than anything else. I had a brief chance to talk to Stuart about this, and the issue is with Winged Hussar Publishing. I sincerely hope the printed version contains a higher quality version of this map. Now that we have the more unpleasant aspects out of the way, let's talk about the things I really liked about Lazarus. First off, Annabelle Hamilton makes an excellent villain. She has a wonderful mix of elitist Southern aristocracy, feminine charm, and ruthless immorality when it comes to her work, with the enlightened and desire for revenge against the Union for the destruction of her home and the suicide of her father. The scene with her showing off the progress she's made with the Lazarus drug for her twin brother by creating a construct out of a still living teenage boy is rather chilling, both in what her process entails and in her complete lack of regard for the life she's ending really make readers understand the progress without morality mantra of the Enlightened as a whole. There's also a hint of past trauma in the way Annabelle talks about Burson Carpathian. You get the impression that she's trying to impress him not only as a scientist, but as a stand-in for her now deceased father, who didn't encourage Annabelle's dreams when she was a child. Secondly, the character work continued on from the vignettes. Both Doc Holliday and Willa Shaw have small vignettes fleshing out their characters available on the War Critter blog, and both characters have bits from their previous works woven into this tale. Doc Holliday stands out in this regard as the conflict between him and Wyatt Earp gets resolved at the end of Lazarus after Doc's face-to-face run-in with Annabelle and her works remind him of the fragility of life and the pointlessness of petty bickering between close friends. Seeing the continuation of both character stories from Vignette's novel is a very welcome sight. Overall, while the book had a few weak points here and there, it's a solid entry into the dystopian age and will hopefully serve as a springboard and quality mark for future Wild West Exodus and dystopian age novels in the future. Well, that's going to do it for me today. Stay tuned for more Wild West Exodus, Mythos, Fog and Friction, and Dystopian Wars content in the near future, as well as some looks at Lost World Exodus in the not so near future. Maybe. At some point. Please? Alright, take care everyone.